All right, welcome to a Stranger Perspective podcast, where we believe your lives are improved when we learn to understand and consider the points of views of other people. And today's stranger is my friend Bianca. How you doing?
Hi, Zach. I'm doing really good. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm doing wonderful.
Wow. Better than really good. Wonderful.
Wonderful.
That's
Life
amazing.
is wonderful right now.
That's amazing. So, when we first met at a friend's birthday party, and I asked for your Instagram, and I think we became friends on Instagram first. And then I noticed that you have 4 Instagrams.
Yeah, I do.
And I was like, this girl is actually pretty cool, because one of them, the handle was make PLUR to me. So make love to me, right? But PLUR, don't just love me. Peace, love, unity, respect me, right?
Yes.
And then there was another one I think you used more for business. Mm-hmm. And then there was another one soon that popped up, and it was just you roller skating. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, this girl's funny. So I'm glad that you're here.
I'm a really big fan of segmentation.
Yeah. You're just here's this part of my life and here's this part of my life.
Yeah, because not everybody is going to be interested in roller skater me, or no one really wants to hear about me pitching construction tools and equipment. So I figured if I just segment my accounts, it just flows. The content ideas, what I'm willing to share just flows a lot better.
Yeah, you give the people what they want. This is my audience here. This is my audience here.
Yep.
I like it.
And it's pretty fun to watch who follows the other accounts and is really interested, because I kind of leave it up to them. I leave little breadcrumbs. So It's really cool to see who's really following all 3 or 5 accounts that I have. But it works. It works for me.
That's funny. So I know the whole PLUR thing, I think we're going to get into a little bit, because I know you're really involved in that. Mm-hmm. But tell me a little bit about growing up for you. I know we had mentioned earlier, before the podcast started, you grew up a little bit religious, which is kind of a thing that comes up on this podcast a lot, because that's obviously something Milena and I went through. But yeah, did you grow up in Vegas? Yeah,
actually, no, I didn't. And I'm really happy you're giving me an opportunity to speak on that, because that's actually one of the reasons why I feel I just gravitated so closely to you and Milena, hearing your story and how you guys grew up in faith in God, because I don't really run into too many people, or at least for the longest time, I didn't have enough friends that were so open and willing to share about their spirituality and faith in God. And for the longest time, I shut that stuff out of my life until I opened up, and then more people like you and my other friends started to populate, and life is just so much better now, being able to just talk about those past experiences openly. So yeah, I didn't grow up in Vegas. I came from, I'm from all over the place. I'm a little United Nations. I'm kind of like that too, actually. Oh, yeah. United Nations. I'm from all over the country, but. All over the country, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're from all over the world.
All over the world. I've lived in Germany, born there, but my father was in the military. So.
Did not know that.
Yeah. I got a German certificate. It's pretty cool.
Dual citizenship?
Dual citizenship. Wow. Up until. It didn't make sense for me to keep it anymore, because realistically, I think when I was 15, I had to make a call, and I just didn't see myself living in Germany. But
makes sense.
I only have 1 citizenship now, but the German citizen birth certificate is pretty sweet.
Wait, can I ask you, do they make you, so they make you choose when you're 15, who are you?
At the time, yes. At the time, my parents had a conversation with me, and they said that, okay, we have to just make a decision on which birth certificate, or what your citizenship is going to be. And we decided as a family to just make it a U.S. citizenship, because we lived there for, I think, 5 or 6 years. So I was just received it, but never applied.
Was your dad in the Air Force?
He was in the Army.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, he was a mechanic in the Army.
Dang, yeah. Interesting. I had no idea. It's funny. Cool. So you grew up the first 5 years of your life in Germany?
Yeah, first 5 years in Germany. Used to, I didn't really, actually, did I go to school there? No, I didn't go to school there. From Germany, we went to Puerto Rico. Grew up in Puerto Rico, went to grade school there until about 4th grade, and then came to the United States.
Dang.
I lived in Pennsylvania, Northeast Philly, and stayed in Philly for 4 or 5 years. But a lot of my upbringing grew up in, living in a lower income, urban city. The school that I went to was mostly Black kids, Chinese kids, some white kids, and a lot of Hispanic kids. So I think that's where it really started to become more I don't know. There's an era of Bianca photos where I'm just in baby fat jeans and like Nike 6.0s with the Puerto Rican flag on the back and like jewelry with my name on it.
Oh my gosh, why can't I see it?
You know, hair slicked back, baby hair, like, you know, side. What do you call those things? The side. Girls like paste it down now with like toothbrushes and gel. Oh, baby hairs.
Beanie hairs?
Oh
I don't even know what that is. And by the way, Lolo's here too in the back. She's going to be laughing at random stuff. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So that's where that era of Bianca like really start to flourish and exist. But she
Sounds like she was thriving.
Yeah, she was thriving. Yeah. And then I went but that was at the time where I think I was most involved in the religion and was Jehovah's Witness that entire time that we lived in like Philly. That's where I most came online as far as memories go, where my interest started to pick up. Friendships.
It's kind of like where you felt like your life kind of like started.
Yeah.
You know, a little bit.
Like when I dream of like a home and a place, it's usually of that home that I had in Philly.
Wow.
And I can remember so much. Like if I were to transport in Philly right now without Google Maps or anything, I'd know my way around the neighborhood.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. I've been to Philly a couple times. It's big and crazy and intense and
a little grimy and dirty, but full of culture and great food. Full of culture for sure.
And so that's where you were really kind of started to make like your faith a serious thing to you?
That was definitely where I developed. I was really close to my parents, my grandmother and my aunt, who were also big influences for me. And as a young Christian, I would spend summers with them in New York City, and it was so close from Philly to New York. So I would go there all the time for the summer. So I spent a lot of time in New York too. Once we moved back to the United States and I was going to grade school. So that was also where I have like the most memories of just trying to do the right thing at the right time. You know, I was still like a bad kid. I had bad influences. Like I'd skip school every once in a while, but then I would repent and feel shame and guilt and pray at night, you know, to try to like, you know, wash the bad things that I had done. And I'd pray every night, and I had a really close relationship with God. But it was also kind of freaky, like not freaky, but hard too, because that was also the same time my dad started questioning his own faith.
Wow. Yeah.
And, you know,
so about how old were you when that started happening?
I think around like 11.
Okay, yeah.
10, 11. I remember things becoming more, taking a turn where I felt like the more my father started to pull away, the closer I tried to like hold on to everything because I didn't want things to change.
Wow.
And then that's when I started to feel, you know, like everything that I knew was falling apart. My world was shattering.
Wow.
The things that I believed in, like if my father didn't even believe it, but my grandmother and my aunt, who were still like involved in the faith and were big influences in me, I felt like I was being pulled in two directions.
For sure.
And it was really, really hard. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, when we left Philly and my parents like relocated us to Florida because my brother was getting bullied in school. The neighborhood started to turn. And it just wasn't a really good place to like raise a family anymore. So we went to Florida, and that's when at that point my dad had like let go of being a Jehovah's Witness. That must have been 2000, whatever grade I was in 9th grade. So like 2000.
I don't know how old you are actually, so I'm not going to do this math. And I can't do the math in my head anyways.
Maybe 2006, 2007, something around there.
For sure.
Because I remember falling in love with AFI in 2006. And I think that's one of their albums when that came out. And that was like that music that was like forbidden at the time.
Yeah,
it was
for
like
sure.
Punk and grungy. And Davey Havok had like long goth, like girly hair.
Oh my gosh.
And wore makeup. And my mom was like, what are you listening to?
They're definitely not Jehovah's Witness, are they?
But, oh man, that was like the music that I like went to seek, you know.
Interesting. So do you feel, so music was kind of a part of your, like as you were like leaving that, music was kind of, a love for music was kind of making its way in.
Yeah. Because I needed something else. Mm-hmm.
So like, I also like didn't listen to, well, actually, you know, grew up in the church, but like didn't even know secular music was bad until one day one of my friends was like, you're listening to NSYNC or whatever. I mean, I think I'm a little older than you. So
not by much.
But like, yeah. So it was like NSYNC, all the Britney Spears was huge, all this stuff. Right. And And my friends were like, you can't listen to that. And you got to listen to like Christian music. I was like, okay. So I started like listening to only Christian music, but there was this Christian band called the Newsboys, right? And they have this song that has these lyrics in it that says like, it's so weird. They say something about like they don't serve breakfast in hell, right? And in my mind, hell was like a cuss word. Like you don't say hell. Like if you said what the hell, I was like, you just cussed, you know? And so I listened to the song not knowing they're a Christian band, and they said the H word. And I was like singing it with my friends, and I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so good to be bad. And I would just like, every time that lyric would come along in the chorus, it'd be, don't sell breakfast in hell, right? Then go to find out like later, I was like, that's like a freaking Christian song. And I was just like, wow. Yeah. I couldn't even not be Christian then when I tried.
Wow. And that's the part that makes you feel as a kid when you're growing up, like, why is it so bad for me to like these things? And you get raised to feel bad for liking what you like.
Yeah.
And as adult, when you grow up, you realize it's totally okay to like whatever you like. Who cares what other people think?
For
you start to
sure.
develop your own understanding of your beliefs and, you know, what you think is right, and not to be controlled by those ideas anymore. And that's the true ultimate freedom, I think, in the end. But you have to get through those painful memories at first.
For sure. Which it sounds like you really went through. Like I can kind of relate, but I went through my world crumbling when I was 28, 29. And that was, you know, for me, at least I was old enough to like know my life wasn't going to end, to know things. Well, even though it felt like it, you know, that's when my worldview changed, and everything that I used to frame the world around me kind of crumbled and fell apart. And so if that was hard for me at 28, I can't imagine what it was like going through that at 10, 11.
Yeah, that was really, really hard. I have this one memory of how bad it got, like how lost I was. ASMR. I remember there was a period when my dad was really, really isolated, and I was still, he was like, hey, if you want to still go, you can go. You know, the sisters will come pick you up on, you know, for Bible study, to take you to church. I had a sister that, she was like my older sister, and she really looked after me during that period. But then, you know, the visits became less and frequent. And then I was really going through a phase where I just wasn't going to church anymore. And, you know, Jehovah's Witnesses, they practice knocking on your door to try to, you know, teach you the word of God and recruit you. And I remember getting a visit once from these two brothers, and they didn't know our address. They didn't know who we were, but they just knocked on our door like anybody else. And I answered. And when I saw the brothers, they were like, for me, it felt like a message from Jehovah. Like they came back for me.
Wow. Like God sent these people to bring you back. Yeah.
And at the time I was so scared to talk to them, because my dad was at that point, I think we had made a decision that I was going to go back, and I was trying to stand by my decision. So, you know, we sent them off. And then after like 10 minutes, I like left the house and I ran after them looking for them. And I went looking for them, and I found one of the brothers, and they recognized me, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm so sorry. Like, I want to come back. And like I hugged them.
Like you ran out the door of your house?
Yeah. Like I left the house in pursuit of finding them, because I didn't want them to go too far, because I, you know, was really like they were like a messenger for me. I was like, I don't know, I must have been like 12 or something. And it was just it was such a memory, because I just remember feeling like, oh, like this is what I need to do. This is where I should be. And, you know, no one else came back for me, but they did. And so I found them, seeked them out. And then I went to church after that, I think a couple more times, but I feel like there was a reason why my dad did what he did. And I decided to follow my dad's decision. So it was like a really like changing point of challenging my own, like me being my own person, and then having a chance to like stick with the religion. But I think the bigger picture was, I'm going to stick with my family. For sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And like, but did you feel like you lost the rest of your family that was still in it? Funny. Yeah. Because a part of that, I mean, my grandmother didn't talk to my father for a really long time after that. But, you know, I'm happy to say now today, like it's been, I don't know, like 10 plus years. I'm really close with my aunt, who to this day is still like my mentor in a lot of ways, but she's been able to grow. She's wisened up over the years too, where she can separate faith and family. And even though some people in the congregation might disagree, since we're not, part of the faith anymore, like she's still not going to abandon her family.
For sure.
And she's understand like family at the end of the day, no matter what you believe in, like that's your family. You love them no matter what. And that's beautiful that she can kind of grow out of that old mentality of like Jehovah Witnesses to become like a new age version of one of them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that's kind of like the natural course of things. A lot of times it's like I remember when people left Christianity while I was still, fully believing and fully involved, like I would feel like upset at them. I feel like I wouldn't know how to talk to them. It's like, hey, you just betrayed everything we believe is the truth. Like, what do we have in common anymore? It was like confusing because it felt like, are you the enemy now? Are you someone because there's people that you would want to just share the truth with, like that don't believe, and you would want them to like, come, and they're just don't know yet. But then there's those people that have known it, that have been involved, that have been there, done that, you've been through stuff together, with, and then they leave. And I remember feeling so many of those during so many of those situations, like, I don't know how to even see you anymore. Like, I almost have to see you as the bad guy, like as led away by the devil or something. And I feel like that's what so when I started to deconstruct my faith, like, I think one of the hardest parts was knowing that people were going to see me that way. Mm. And we were talking for a minute about like starting this podcast, before we started. And I was telling you, like, this has been on my heart to do for a long time, to start something like this, even just for myself, to like talk to people, get to know people, whatever. But I been so afraid to do this because I know that so many people, not so many, but just people that I know and care about would hear this stuff and view me that way, So I think that's like a tough thing to be faced with when it's like, hey, if I leave, like I have to potentially, sacrifice the closest people to me in my life, and not only that, but like sometimes it's like those people are like, your community. They're the people that you go to when you're going through hard times. A lot of people that are involved in, religious communities of any kind, like, you find a job maybe with someone at the church who's like sees something in you. And then it's like, hey, come and work for me. But then you start to fear like, hey, if I don't do this anymore, like, is my job at risk? Is like, whatever. And I think it could be so hard for people to have to face the fact that maybe everything that they know is about to change, but I don't know. What did you feel like came out of that though? Like, obviously you went through probably the fear of like, losing your aunt, but you said ultimately at the end of the day, people end up kind of, the people that really love you and care about you kind of come back around a little bit. Yeah.
And a lot of those, I don't really speak to a lot of the people from my old congregation very much, but the ones that are still in connection with my aunt, they all ask about me. They still to this, like, through a couple, like a few degrees, we keep in touch, but no one really goes that extra step to reach out because they still believe a certain way of keeping your relationships and your community really tight within that religion. Because I think if you ask too many questions, it's frowned upon, and that's what's sad is as soon as you start asking questions or you start announcing yourself that you're associated with certain individuals, a lot of the elders will, criticize that, and it kind of puts you in
certain music now.
Yeah, like, it puts you in a really awkward position. And it's even interesting too, because I dated somebody not that long. Well, I dated somebody who it was funny. We found out we were both in the same congregation at the same time, and we both found each other in this city. And when we both started talking about our
after you had both left the church? Oh, wow.
We were both kids, like little kids in the congregation. So and we knew all the same people. And he had left the religion as well, but his family was still very much involved. But once we started talking about family and who we knew, there was still like a sense of like, hey, like, let's not tell anybody like about this, that we found each other. and let's not like tell too much about what's going on in each other's lives, because rumors travel fast. And then, you know, his parents might get asked questions, and
for sure
they don't want attention about their son and, you know, my name to come up.
What's going on with you? Because now they have to see it as like a reflection on them. Oh, your kids are the ones that went astray. Yeah.
And it's sad, but it's still like, you know, it's like, okay, we don't really want to, you know, bring attention to like our family's names, because we know what that can mean for those that are still involved in the religion. So
yeah, for sure. So you risk like losing those people, right? But then did you feel like new people came into your life?
Oh, 100%. And I think after leaving like as soon as I definitely went through a rebellious phase. Once I realized I wasn't going to church anymore, my dad was doing his own thing. He was starting to get into different segments of Christianity that exist, right? And exploring new churches. But for me at the time, I found music. So I found this band that I fell in love with. They were so edgy. I found comfort in that. I went through a whole different style change. I told you I was wearing like baby fat jeans, 6.0s, you know, super tight clothes. And then I went into wearing, you know, baggy trip pants, Converse, super big black, Nightmare Before Christmas sweatshirts.
Straight up like emo, basically?
Super emo. I had long, beautiful hair like I do now, and I chopped it off into like a bob, dyed it pink, blue, red, green. I went through all the phases. Super emo.
For sure.
Started hanging out with this girl who got me more into that type of music. She became one of my best friends. She was a little older than me, but she was my friend. She was gay. She was a lesbian. She was like everything that I was told not to befriend.
So you were just like drawn to that because you're like, you're all the bad stuff. Show me if this is bad or not.
Exactly. Yeah. And to turn out, she was one of the sweetest people that I've ever met, and one of the coolest people that I've ever met. And it's really sad she's no longer with us, but she's always alive in my memory. And I credit a lot to her for that period of my life that she helped me get through those high school years. Damn. Being in a new state, being in a new school, not being like all my friends from church were gone, and having like just no friends, but finding music. And through that music space continued the evolution of finding like music that moved me and being around that same group of people that showed love, compassion, friendship in the raver community.
Yeah. So this is kind of how you got into like the whole PLUR lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was when I moved so I had this friend, Christine, and she had a friend named Miranda. And I ended up moving from Port St. Lucie to Orlando to live with these two girls when they went to college. And I eventually went to the state college in that same city. And while they went to University Central Florida, I went to Valencia State College. And for 3 years, we lived in Orlando going to school. And then through the job that I had in Orlando, I met my other best friend, Kim. And Kim was the raver. She was like the weird one at work. And she was a bitch. She was a total bitch, resting bitch face, didn't talk to anybody. She was super sassy, super sarcastic. No one could tell if she was being nice or not. And I was her manager. But for whatever reason, like I love this girl, and we eventually became friends. But she invited me out one night to a club, and it was my first time going to a club in Orlando. And I think there was like some local DJ playing, but I was listening to house music there that night. And I don't know how I got into drugs, but I definitely tried some that night, and my whole world opened up. And that was the first night I like got into dancing, and I saw lights, and I was just talking to everybody. And I think that was the first night where I started to feel connected to strangers and realizing my like I could befriend so many more people once I stepped out of like this edgy emo, like quiet,
for sure,
like shell that I created around myself.
I love that so much.
And I took some ecstasy that night, and I made friends with everybody. And Kim must have loved me so much because she wasn't really with me. She was with another group, but we both worked together. She told me about the event.
She just told you, "Hey, I'm going to this thing."
Yeah,
and then you went,
told me about the event. Told me she'd be there. I show up with another group. I see her there. She probably saw me get weird. At the time, there used to be this signature drink called like a Red Dragon cocktail, like at the bar. Slammed one of those. Got a little weird. Her and I like became friends that night. We went back to work the next day, 14-hour shift at Panda Express. I'm trying to like manage my shift. But her and I had that like we both know what we did the night before. Yeah,
you guys connected. Mm-hmm. You guys connected in a way that no one else in that store connected. For sure. Yeah.
And then she invited me to do it again and again. Sure. And then that's when I started to befriend some of her friends. And then that's when I really started to find like people that were, friendly, open. They had their own sense of expression. And they were just some of the most fun people that I'd been around in such a long time, aside from my friend Christina Miranda, who I like ended up moving out with. But they were in school and college, and they partied way harder than me on the weekends to like de-stress. And I was still like in work mode. And Kim was she had that same work ethic where she could like work really hard, but still party every once in a while.
For sure.
So through her, I got to experience this world. And she eventually invited me to Miami for Ultra Music Festival.
Dang. So this is like your first festival.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then when I went to Miami, that changed the game. I needed to go to like festivals at least once a year from then on, because it was just like such a cool world of being connected to so many people, feeling like a sense of community, feeling like,
oh my gosh, I cannot wait to experience this.
I must have been like 19. Yeah.
That's awesome. Milena and I are just like, so we became open, like before festivals were like really bad. Like literally we worked at a church where we would do like outreaches to EDM, and it was like trying to get like to save people from that really bad.
Really?
That really bad.
You were trying to save people from going?
I know. Yeah. Like for real. And like the way I understood what that was basically like basically the most debaucherous, heathenistic, drug-filled orgies, nasty, whatever, like experience that you could ever have. And I'm just like, all these people go to this. Like, and so, but we only like that perspective changed for us, obviously. And we became open, like talked about going to festivals since COVID started, where everything's got canceled. So I'm like waiting to go to my first festival.
I can't wait for you
to go. But the thing that I know, me neither, like there's a few people I'm like, these people need to take me to my first festival. They need to show me how this goes, because I don't want to be the weird like freaking 31-year-old dude that's like first time there and like I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, you said something that like really, really struck me, and you said that you got out of your emo shell and you just opened up to like this new world and these new people and started to experience connections with strangers. Right? Good job being on theme for the podcast. And like, I'm just like, when I hear that, I'm like, that's it. Like, that is really like kind of what I'm passionate about. And I feel like we all have like our aesthetic, our vibe, our tribe, the kind of people and the types of people we relate with and connect with the most. But I just love the fact that you opened yourself up to a new perspective, a new world, a new group of people that saw the world in their own way, and you kind of took that.
My gosh, I took it and ran with it. And what was really cool, because don't get me wrong, I had that same idea too. I have a story about what happened in Miami that got me in a lot of trouble with my parents. But then when my mom, long story short, my mom found my drugs driving me on the way to Miami. And she almost canceled the whole weekend. We had just pulled into Miami. We're at a gas station. She found my drugs. And she was like, okay, well, trip's over. We're not going. We're going to drive back home. And I cried. I begged. I said, I'm so sorry. Really, really fought to continue going through with the weekend. Eventually, she, gave me a shot. And I had experienced the weekend sober. And experiencing the weekend sober, like if it hurt a little bit in the pit of my stomach, because I know how cool it could have been had I had, some ecstasy to try at the festival, but challenging, like just realizing that wasn't an option anymore. I still had the best time. And looking back, I'm really glad that was like my first music festival, because it was really pure and raw. But music festivals are a lot more fun when you have. That was Ultra Music Festival in Miami. This was like 2012. Yeah.
Dang.
That was the I saw Cascade at during one of the nights, and he was playing at the main stage. And I'll just never forget like watching Cascade and having Kim like next to me. She's bawling her eyes out because like Cascade sets are just really emotional. I mean, they're really fun, but there's like these breaks that are just, they just pull at your heartstrings. And just looking around the crowd and just seeing other people like get so emotional during this set. And I'm not talking about a few hundred people. I'm talking about like thousands of people.
Wow.
All vibing out to like this breakdown of Cascade. And it was just the most powerful thing I think I could have ever experienced at like 18, 19.
That's crazy.
And I realized I wanted to keep doing this like again and again and again and again. Like I met so many people that day. I mean, I went by myself, except for like Kim was my friend, but there's time I got separated. And that's what I mean, like bumping into strangers who were there, to like older ravers that were there that had the water bottles ready. You know, hey, take a sip. It looks like you need some water. Like, oh, hey, are you lost? Like, here's my phone. You can call your friend. Everybody had each other's backs. That's the vibe I got. And that was a sense of community that really like I was really looking for because I lost my community. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a lot of friends in high school. And by the time I got to college, like I only had 2 friends in the city. And then all of a sudden now I have like all these friends at this one festival.
It's so crazy.
And that was enough.
I love that. Everyone I know that's like a festival person, like goes to all these festivals, has groups of friends all over the country. All over the country. I have, you know, relatives that do that. They know people all over the country. I have a friend who probably will come on the podcast soon. Her name's Effie. And like every weekend, I swear to God, she is like in some new state doing some new thing. I'm like, who are you going with this time? They're like, she's like, this group of people. I'm like, where'd you meet them? Festival. Like, and it's all these different people. And I like what you said about like Cascade and like that breakdown and everyone just being on the same energy, doing the same thing. Like, I feel like that is so powerful. And for like a lot of people that maybe wouldn't have had those experiences yet, that might even be listening to this, the way I imagine it is almost like church, like worship at church, because I feel like the most like profound experiences I had with God over my life were during like worship sets. So like sermons would sometimes touch my heart or whatever, but like we do worship, you know, do these worship songs and stuff. And we were mostly at churches that were a little more progressive, did things a little, you know, music that you can actually kind of listen to. Right. And there was just something about everyone being on the same energy, focused on the same thing, like focused on receiving from the same source, more or less, right? And like I'd have those experiences during worship at church, and you describing that makes me feel like it's that same experience, you know, like everybody, like there's not a lot of things that unite us all right now, which is kind of why I want people to listen to random people coming on a podcast and being like, okay, I can connect with this person in this way, even if we're so different. There's going to be something that you're like, I felt that, you know? Mm-hmm. And I can't wait to experience that, because like, I feel like that is such a powerful, emotional, life-changing moment when you can realize like, hey, I'm connected. I'm so different from so many of these people, but we're all connected on this one thing. And then it brings you to a place of understanding. It brings you to a place of like acceptance. It helps you embrace the differences and appreciate the differences, because you need those differences in other people's lives to help complete you as a person. Fill in the gaps where you haven't seen, fill in the gaps where you haven't had those life circumstances that they've had, and they haven't had the ones you've had. So they need to hear your shit too, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I just love that stuff. Can't wait to go. I'm just excited to go.
You're so right about that. And you know, the more different festivals you get to experience, like, you know, Ultra is different from EDC. EDC is different from Nocturnal. Nocturnal is way different from Electric Forest. But what you find common in all of those spaces, and some people will argue that, oh, it's so commercial now, you know, everybody's there just to do the drugs. Yeah, that's true. But tell you, when you find your rave family, like your friend who has like these groups of people in all these different states, when you find that group that you vibe with at that weekend and they bring you in, they are your group for life. And it doesn't matter who's around getting messed up or who gets pulled out in a stretcher. Like that stuff is always going to be around. But when you kind of learn how to, you know, manifest what you want at these things, and you eventually like manifest that peace, that love, that unity, that respect, you know, vibe that EDM really used to be very much about like at these raves when I first got introduced in 2012. It was all about PLUR. It was all about trading candy and trading bracelets. Now I'm going to be, I'm getting a little older, and now I think about bringing out my candy bracelets. I'm like, this looks a little juvenile, but you know what? I don't care because I could. Part of like the PLUR culture is like, for example, you'll be in a crowd and let's say you get really hot. You're overheating. Thousands of people around. You've been dancing for 10 hours. And especially here in Vegas, EDC at night is still like 98 degrees.
Damn,
it's hot.
Yeah.
And let's say you don't want to ask for help, but you're hot. Dude, I don't know how every time, but the guy with the mister always comes. He's a guy, sweaty guy, shirtless. He's got little tiny boy shorts. He's decked out in like candy from his wrist to his shoulders. And he's got a mister, and he comes around. He just, no words, makes eye contact with you.
He just knows.
You down.
That's amazing.
Relief. And then trades you a bracelet.
That's tight.
And it's that, it's that handshake, that thing that exists. Do you know about the PLUR shake?
I don't know how to do it, but I know you like touch hands and then you do this.
So you do peace.
Okay.
Love. Unity, and then respect, and then he'll trade
switch
you.
A bracelet. Okay, for sure, yeah.
And then that's like your souvenir from that moment, that memory.
It's powerful. So that's like maybe it feels juvenile, but that's not the concept. That what it represents is not juvenile at all. It's probably what most freaking adults need to embrace in their life way more.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I love it too because, I might question wearing it, but then I remember to wear it because when I'm back in that space, I know what that moment meant for me and what it did. And you have to continue practicing that.
It's tight.
So you don't lose it. So it doesn't just become like an orgy for like sex, drugs, and, fucking off. And that's not what it's about. It's about those moments. And I don't know, that'll always resonate with me. And it's been a really tough year to not be at music festivals. I miss them so much. I've heard that so much from people. Oh man, it's been such a hard year because 2020 was going to be the year that I was going to go. It's almost like
that's the thing that we could have used most this year.
Yeah.
Like I know like COVID sucked, but like the election and stuff like divided us so much. That it's almost like we could have used that because you would have had both sides over there freaking trading bracelets, like doing whatever. So yeah, it makes sense.
What was really beautiful though was watching the community get creative and groups like Insomniac really be a part of that whole like, okay, how can we innovate and how can we still bring the community together? And they started doing virtual rave-a-thons. Yeah. And I joined 2 of them. And it was just the coolest thing getting on a rave-a-thon, a virtual rave-a-thon, and seeing hundreds and hundreds of other streamers, streaming their living rooms with their trippy lights, and they've got their TV up tight, like this, dancing to the DJ that's spinning live, and just seeing everybody still like band together in their living rooms doing the same thing and chatting. Funny.
That's actually like as far as my like festival experience has gone because I've been to a few parties now where like that was happening. Where like there's people that came over and they're like, yeah, but like this festival's happening. They turn it on and then like bust out all their gear, their rave gear, like lights are going crazy. Yeah, I've been to a couple parties where that's happening. So cool. Like half the people are doing that and half the people are just doing other stuff or whatever, Oh,
I just went to one for my first time a few weeks ago in Denver. I have my Denver trans family there. And one of my friends invited us over for dinner, but he was playing Tomorrowland on his TV, but he had the pass to Tomorrowland. So I didn't know you can actually like digitally like choose all the different sets and like watch a performance. So we were watching Armin van Buuren play and we're all sitting around the living room, just like playing board games, drinking, but pretending like we were at the festival. It was awesome. And I was like, I gotta use the bathroom. Will someone come with me? And it's like, okay, all right. Well, we have to be back by 12 because
whoever's playing
next. It was the most fun awesome. Role play we did as a group, but it was really nostalgic and wonderful.
You should have like brought a stretcher in and had somebody just get taken on a stretcher for.
Oh shit, is that girl okay?
Hey, can you like overheat, like have heat stroke just for no reason, please?
Oh my God, I hope not. That poor girl, throw her candy.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I love like I feel like that's something. Like you've mentioned how like that, I think that phase started when you said like maybe around 13, but it feels like that's something that you would carry with you even beyond that. Because I know for a lot of people, some people will be, will be like super involved in that community for a while. And then as they get a little older, you know, life's happening, you know, job circumstances, family, relationships and stuff. And maybe it's not as much a central part of your life as it was at that time. But I love it feels like the people I know that have been a part of that community have taken that, you know, principle with them, and it's gone into every other part of their life too. And is that something that you felt like you experienced?
100%. You said that really nicely. I'm one of those people. No matter where I go, what I do, where I'm at, who I'm talking to, with the little background that I have, I always try to apply what I've learned at these festivals. Be kind to others, be respectful. You know, try not to judge other people. Everybody is free to be themselves. I've seen so many crazy outfits and forms of expression at these festivals where you would never think, you know, the girl that's a nurse or the doctor or the firefighter, you know, they have a lot of these, like, you know, day-to-day heroes who might look normal and every day. Those are the same people that are dressed up as like a unicorn, or they're all naked with glitter all over them, and they're just like dancing in the lights and
being free as fuck,
being super free. And it's just so beautiful to see like people in that form, in that setting, and then seeing them every day. It's like, you don't know who you're talking to, you know, when you run into them. And I try to just be friendly and nice to everybody, because I'm like, I hope I get to rave with you someday.
That's awesome. Yeah. Did you ever like secretly find somebody?
Well, one time just last year, so I was working in sales in the construction industry, and I met somebody who really well respected, had a lot of, you know, everybody wants to get close to this person. They're a key decision maker. And I had the privilege of taking him and his team out for a night out. We went to go watch I don't want to say too much, but we went out one night, had a great time. He was having a good time. He didn't want to go home yet, but the rest of his team did. And me being who I am, I was like, what else can we do? Let's go to a show. And
the strip club was closing at this point.
Strip club was closed, but that's not.
I'm just kidding. You don't have to say where they were. I'm just messing.
So he gave me a good vibe, and he told me he'd been to EDC once and he used to be a raver. And when we bonded on that, he's like, I haven't been to a rave or done anything like this in years. It's been a long time. He's been career driven, priorities change. And so I found a Chris Lake show going on at the Hard Rock Cafe. And one night, I said, it's a trance show. I was like, you want to go? And he's like, yeah, I want to go.
Hell yeah.
And so we go. And it was the coolest thing, because I could tell this person hadn't experienced like that in a very long time.
It like brought them back. Yeah.
It brought them back. And I got to see them get weird. I was getting weird. We're dancing. And then eventually like he left, but he thanked me for that, because it's once you're out and you get so serious in your career, it's kind of hard to find people that are interested in those things. And here I am, just giving him an opportunity.
Just dropping in, being like, let me bring you right on back to that.
Yeah. Even if it's for a night, you know? And he had a really great time. We still talk about it today. He's one of the cooler people. But, you know, it just goes to show, like, I think like there's a little raver inside everybody.
Yeah. That's amazing. Did you feel like you got to a point though where your life started to change? You know, in a way that, like we just talked about, where maybe that whole, you know, community and everything became something you're a little less involved in as you were like, life was changing or anything?
No, because I feel like everybody that I hung out with also had like life goals and priorities too. So we all kind of shared that same, hey, we treat ourselves like these times a year so we can like be free and let loose, but we're still professionals in our day to day.
For sure.
And I still, you know, there's a certain group that I have, like in Denver, for example, they go to festivals regular throughout the year, and they all break off, and some go with others. Some have to stay back because of money or kids, or they have other life goals. And sometimes you can't like dish out like $3,000 on a festival, and that's okay. But for me, I think things started to change in 2019. Like I kind of stepped back. I was like, I'm not going to spend any money on festivals, and, you know, I'm trying to move out and be on my own feet, like don't have money to spend on festivals. But then 2020 was going to be the year I treated myself.
You're like, I'll go back, then I'll like save up for it or whatever.
Yeah. And then 2020 never happened. And then now I'm fingers crossed hoping that EDC Las Vegas pulls through, because I already spent my tickets on 2 VIP passes that I don't think I can get my money back for. So
So they'll
Pasquale,
carry that
if you're
over,
listening,
I think,
please give us an update. Is EDC happening or not?
Give me free VIP tickets if you're listening.
Yeah, or let me just roll over to next year. It's okay. But there's a few other shows this year that I'm really looking forward to. So I feel like I'm going to get my fill in this year no matter what.
That's tight. That's awesome.
I need it. We all need it. There's so many of us that like need it because it's that sense of community. It's that peace, that love, that like
maybe everyone should go to one. Like everyone should have to go to one. Like Joe Rogan talks about like everyone should have to do mushrooms, and just because it'll like unite the world or whatever. And maybe everyone should have to go to a rave, go to EDC or something. At
least one night. You don't have to do three days. 3 days is taxing on the body.
And you can go and be sober and still have a great time, apparently.
Oh, man. So I did last year, or the year before, I did, what did I do? I did Lightning in a Bottle, which was 4 days. It's a 5-day festival. I only went for 4 days. And then that one was in...
Is that California?
Yeah, that was in
That's
California.
the one Melanie and I are looking at maybe
Buena
going
Vista?
to. Yeah.
Lightning in a Bottle.
Mm-hmm. That's like our first one we want to maybe
cool.
do. Yeah.
It's got burner vibes.
For sure. Yeah.
Daytime. Like there's art tents and yogi tents. And
the people we know are like burners. Like, I don't know if that's like a different category than like raver or whatever, but...
I feel like they're their cool group. I really love that they love psytrance as much as they do, because there was a lot of psytrance at Lightning in a Bottle, which I love trance, and psytrance is just really trippy and weird. So doing psychedelics at that type of festival setting around those people are fucking awesome.
That sounds crazy.
But you'll be in good hands if you go with burners at Lightning in a Bottle.
For sure, that makes sense.
They are, I don't know, they're just, it's a really cool crowd. I forgot where I was going with that though.
Yeah, well, actually, I wanted to ask you too, because I know like as your life kind of changed, because you said 2019, like it didn't really, you kind of took a step back. 2020 obviously didn't happen because of COVID and stuff, but now your life is like completely changing, it feels like. Mm-hmm. So like, you were working in the clubs here in Vegas, I know, and you met like someone who we've hung out with a few times and we think is like one of the coolest guys ever. And I think it would be interesting to hear about this guy coming in your life. Like you're in this club scene. Like tell us that story.
Yeah. Okay. So our love story.
And all the guys like listening and watching this now are like, oh fuck. She's
yeah, I'm definitely off the market. Yeah. So yeah, it was really cool because when I moved to Vegas, I got a really cool opportunity to work for this this nightclub party bus company called Turned Up Tours. Best party bus nightclub tour in Las Vegas.
I can hear the noise like
turned down for what? Oh my gosh, that was such a cool era of just being in Vegas as a young 20-something-year-old. But during my time there, occasionally on the weekends, I would jump in on the host team and like be a party host, help show a group of people a good time on a night or day out. Take them to 3 different clubs.
Which is how you know Lolo, right?
Which is how I know Lorena, Miss Lolo Party. She actually taught me everything that I know about being a party host.
Oh, wow.
I thought I was already a good time being around in the festival scene for a little while. So like, I don't have no problems talking to strangers or people. You put me in front of everybody, like I'll be friends with them at some point. I'm a little too nice sometimes, but like Lolo definitely helped, mold me into this really awesome host that I think I was one of the top earners, like after you left, just saying, like she did good coaching me.
She like passed the mantle on to you. Like,
yeah. All right, I'll stop.
Go and
my
be
own
dope
ego.
now.
But but I was doing really, it was a good time. And I learned a lot from that, being a hostess, like perfecting my people skills. But on a night out, I actually ran into who is now my love of my life. He was with another tour and we both met up at Chateau nightclub. And at the end of these tours, like the door guys always give you like free drink tickets. And I was on my way at home and I had all these extra drink tickets. And this other hostess, Christy, she introduced me to these 3 guys that had been hanging out with her all night. And she's like, hey, you should meet my new friends. And I see these 3 dudes and I'm like, okay, great. I can give these like my drink tickets to them. Great. I hate throwing away like drink tickets. So Nick caught, I don't know, he had eyes for me and he was the first one that came up and talked to me. And I got him a drink And then he asked to take me out on the dance floor for a dance. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I love to dance. And I took him to the dance floor and I was like, okay, fucking show me your moves. And I put him on the spot. Poor guy. He was not expecting that. And he did this like really goofy, this move.
Love it.
He'll tell you the story better than I, but he told me that at that point when I saw his move, I basically kissed him on the cheek, told him I had a boyfriend and was ready to get out of there.
That's fucking hilarious.
And he was quite hurt. But he made the next move and asked me for my number. I gave him my business card with my number on it. And he asked if he could walk me home or to my car. And I told him like, no. And then I left. And then he tried to hit me up a couple days after that. And I didn't respond. I was too busy. I was working at the office, but he didn't let go. And a year later, around that same time of year, he told me he was coming back and he'd love to see me. And at that point I was single and I vaguely remembered him and I checked out his Instagram and I thought like, okay, so that's pretty cute. Like, you know what? I'm single. Like, why not? Like she's good looking.
Oh, and you told me this one time. You're like, this is why it pays to have a good Instagram profile picture because I think his account's private, right?
Yeah.
And then,
I could only see his profile picture.
Okay, cute.
Cute enough. And the little, profile picture is itty bitty and tiny. And then I offered to, I don't know where was my mind, but I offered to pick him up at the airport. And this guy shows up at the airport and he can't freaking get to passenger pickup. And he's calling me like 5 times trying to find passenger pickup. And that day that I picked him up, I was so annoyed by like the 4th call that I didn't hang up on him. And I was talking to another friend, and I think I don't know how he heard this part. Oh, I was calling another friend and I still hadn't hung up on our call. And I had said, this fucking idiot is calling me again because I was about to call my other friend. And he has got a big, loud, deep voice. And I just hear from my phone, in my hand saying, oh, so you think I'm a fucking idiot?
Shoot. Oh, fuck.
Oh, no. And I hang up real fast and then I see him and he opens the car, gets in, and I see how beautiful this guy is. He is gorgeous. Took my breath away. And I was like, I'm so sorry.
I love
You're not an idiot.
It's okay, you're a fucking idiot because you're hot.
Oh my God, I was so embarrassed. I got caught out there and he totally brushed it off. But that goes to show, make sure you always hang up your phone when you're done making a call because you could say some shit you can't take back. And
I just love all the obstacles this guy overcame. I just love it.
Oh, this guy
striking out and then but just made it happen.
He did. Yeah. And then, after that he lived in Arizona. I lived in Vegas. It was already a long distance thing. And, every time they came to town, I always made time for him. But we never hooked up ever. Every time he came. But eventually after a year of dating, I realized that he was a good guy. He was the guy that he said he was. Because I'm always really skeptical about dating new guys. A lot of them want too much too soon or, they're all smoke and mirrors. And for whatever reason, I just kind of wanted to see if this one was who he said he was.
Yeah, for sure.
And he definitely proved that. And now we're, building a life together.
That's fucking fantastic. Mm-hmm. And I just want to shout out to him because he's got such a good balance of he's a very masculine dude, but you don't feel threatened by him. He's not pushing that energy on you. He's very accepting of everybody and you just want to be around him. And I can get how you get in the car and you'd be like, whoa, this guy's really good looking. And then there's just that energy getting you. But he's the kind of guy that would persevere through that shit. Most guys would be like, what? We're not having sex? Did you say a year?
Yeah.
A year. Okay.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. It was not easy for him, but
we come from the Christian life. They don't even last a year. Mm-hmm. Dating. They don't even last. It might be because they're not allowed to. They can't. They you know what I mean? They have to do it quick. It's forbidden. So it's a month, and they're like, okay, fuck, let's just do it. But lasting a year, just
yeah. Goes to show, fellas, if a girl tells you no and she fights you, not fights you, but, if she puts up her walls, those walls are definitely worth breaking down if you can, befriend that person first before just trying to get in her pants.
Well, I just this is another, I'm going to have a friend on, one of my guy friends, and our whole thing we want to talk about is just masculinity nowadays. But I just feel like, my gosh, like tell me if I'm right on this. Did you want to feel to yourself, did you want to feel that he was strong enough to like stick in there with you all that time without that aspect of it, just so that you can feel in a sense like his strength to like, hey, if he can stick in there with me for this, like he's someone I could, rely on, be with,
yeah. When my mom always told me this phrase, and I don't know if other girls have heard this too, but it's like, why don't give the milk away if he's going to get the cow for free. You ever heard that expression? Never in my life. No. So that was like something I've always heard. And my dad actually told me that when he's like, be careful, like don't give the milk away. Like, or why is he going to pay for the milk if he's getting the cow for free? That's the phrase. Gotcha. So that makes sense. With this one, it felt that like that was what I needed to put into practice. Like, I'm not going to give you any milk. You're going to earn the cow. And it turns out he was willing to take he was willing to buy the cow, buy the farm and everything and the land to go with it.
Hell yeah. That's amazing. I love that. So like, ladies, like, demand that fucking respect for yourself. And guys, man, have some strength to go there. Have some strength to do that. Have some strength to make it about more than just that shit.
Yeah. And that's what's really cool is that we can look back on all those trips and all those like first dates of being together and realizing, he remembers it as me being hard to get and me remembering it's more of like me testing him, and sure, maybe it was a little bit of a game, but that playing that long game was so much more rewarding than playing short game. Because I played the short game too. I mean, we were just dating. He wasn't my boyfriend at the time. I had other guys that I was dating and testing the waters with. And I'll tell you what, all of them fell short because at some point they all failed the short game thing. It was just a short game. That's it. Yeah. And the only one that I played long game with is the one that I'm actually building a life with. And it was so worth it.
That's incredible. I feel like that's like a lost thing nowadays. Yeah. It's so rare. I don't know if it's Vegas. I don't know if it's everywhere, but like, I feel like that's definitely like something that everyone is struggling with right now, finding a good dude out here.
Yeah. Right? And being honest and having good communication too, because I can also realize like my shortcomings and like the other people that I dated that didn't work out, where honesty and communication was a thing and I wasn't being 100% truthful. But with my guy now, I was always honest with him and what was going on. And I think that's true too. And just making sure that whoever's out there, trying to find love and trying to just connect with someone genuinely, I think communication, trust, and honesty is super key. Even if you are dating around, just be really clear with like who you're, like what you're dating for and what your boundaries are. And just being really transparent, like practicing radical transparency with the people that you're emotionally getting involved with. Because it's going to come out anyways, right? It's going to come out anyway.
And if you want to be way down the road, like feeling way more committed in this relationship, and then that shit comes out, and then you have to deal with it, and you find that it's not, the guy doesn't pass the test, or she's too much for you to handle, or whatever, and you weren't honest about it in the first, months ago when that could have been dealt with, like you're just setting yourself up for more pain, right? For more frustration, for more drama. Although some people love that shit, but like. And I feel like that you use the word testing, like I was testing him. And I think this is something that I went a long part of my life, like as a man, not really understanding is the testing. And a lot of it had to do with my religious, mindset on relationships and marriage. But like, I didn't understand that Melena, my wife, was testing me like you were testing Nick. Like, hey, do you have the strength to do this shit? So you're testing him and you want to feel that he has that. And I interpreted that testing from my wife for years in our marriage. We've been married 10 years. For years in our marriage, like I interpreted that as just basically being a bitch, right? Basically just like being moody, being, back and forth with what she wants, like kind of like I felt like a victim almost, right? Which is like definitely some kid shit. And like once I came to understand, like she's testing me because she wants to feel that I can like hang in there with that I can I can love her through those tests. She wants to feel that I'm strong enough to love her through that shit. And when she feels that, then it's just like she opens up. Then it opens up like a pathway to real intimacy, because she trusts me now and I know what's happening. I know those aren't necessarily personal attacks. I know she's challenging me in the areas that she wants to feel my strength as a man. And those are always going to be the areas where I'm struggling as a man, the areas where I'm falling short, in my masculine role in our relationship. Right. And then the times that I fail those tests, she has to take up that masculine energy and do that for me. She doesn't want to feel that. That's not going to turn her on. That's not going to make her feel intimate, with me, connected, or love me. And so I love that, like, you had that early on and you threw that at him, and you threw that at all these dudes, right? Ladies, throw that at all these dudes, right? Because you want to find the one that can pass that test. You want to find the one that can, endure that strength. And you're not just maybe some girls are being bitchy, I don't know. But like some of that, could be like a really good thing to go through, as you're looking for someone to, like you said, build a life with, right? Mm-hmm. I love that.
Well said, Zach. That's so great that you have a beautiful wife that can help you evolve as a person and as a man. And you can see how those challenges really shaped you up, as hard as they were to experience at the time. Yeah.
We almost got divorced when COVID started. We were it was so bad. I had no understanding of that. Like, we were fighting so much, like in such a bad way that I was like, I cannot do this anymore. Then I read this book. It's going to come up probably a lot on here. It's called The Way of the Superior Man. And can come across a little misogynistic, honestly, but like he speaks so much. The guy's name is David Dita. He speaks so much to like what you are supposed to be like exuding as a man, and how that relates to like what, someone with a feminine, energy wants to feel from you, and it doesn't just apply to like male, female only. Like even in any relationship, there's usually going to be like that masculine, pull and that feminine pull, even if it's like a same sex marriage or relationship or whatever. And those polarities want to feel each other. Like the masculine wants to feel the feminine wants to feel the masculine, and like that coming together, of those different parts of two different people, create something more, right, than just the parts of the individuals, pieces, right? And so like reading that, like it was crazy because he started like in that book literally calling out dudes like, hey, your woman's doing this, the person that you're in a relationship's doing this and this, and you take it as like offensive. You take it as them just nagging you. You take it as them just like getting on your ass about, meaningless shit. But really, that is the greatest gift in your life, because she's going to always push against you in those areas that you are falling short as a man. And you, instead of fighting back against it and being a child still, you need to receive that shit and do it, fix it. Like power through those moods, power through the complaining about this or that. Like you could have made $1 million today. You come home, but you forgot to pick up the milk. And she's like, fuck the $1 million. You should have picked up the milk. I asked you 3 times and I left a note on your door or whatever. And it's like, instead of being like, what the fuck? I made $1 million. Why do you have to be so, rude about it? It's like, hey, you might've made $1 million, but as a man, you need to remember to pick up the milk. You need to remember to do what you say you're going to do, right? To be someone of your word. Mm-hmm.
Right. I wonder if he has a book on like the female side.
He does. It's a little weird. He like writes it like speaking to a woman almost in like a weird seductive way. So I don't know, like obviously it didn't resonate with me as much, but Melena's listening to it on audiobook right now. I think it's called Dear Lover or something like that.
From the same author?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. David Dita.
I'll have to ask her about that.
Yeah.
Well, good for you for seeking knowledge in that area of expertise that you didn't have, and being able to, better yourself through learning from somebody else who is experiencing that. Because honestly, like you can solve all of your problems if you just ask the right questions and seek to understand. There's so many books that exist out there. Like if you want to be a rocket scientist, you can read up on it.
For sure. Which, by the way, speaking of rocket scientists, you know, that's your man, right?
Yeah, he'll be on the next episode.
That's awesome.
Or one of these episodes.
We were literally playing. What game were we playing the other night when you came over?
Oh, we were playing a card game called the Red Flags.
Yeah. And it's kind of like apples to apples, right? Where you like, if someone gets like a scenario and you put down the cards that you think they would pick or whatever. And we're literally doing one where it's like, you know, your perfect, you know, date or something like that. And someone put down like a card about they're a rocket scientist. And I was like,
Yeah, of course it was my hand and my profile that I picked, that I created. His profession was a rocket scientist, and his red flag that he had a nickname called Puke Bucket or something like that. Puke trash, I think was the
puke
guy.
Can or something like that.
Yeah, that was his red flag. So it's like, you want to date a rocket scientist? He's really smart, very charming, good looking, but all of his friends call him Puke Trash or Puke Bucket. And you know what? He still got picked out of the bunch. Apparently, it wasn't that bad of a nickname.
Not bad.
It's
at
a good
all.
party guy. That's how you know. And when he gets a name after Puke.
For sure. You're like, this guy goes hard.
He goes really hard.
hard.
And usually after you puke, you feel a bajillion times better. So, you know, he
This is
still
what I've
hangs
heard.
around.
I've never been drunk before, personally.
Never drunk?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh man,
I have
I did some stuff over the weekend, and I definitely had a moment where I had a puke, and I felt great afterwards.
Yeah, I actually had my first like drunk
No
enough to
alcohol was
throw up.
involved.
Oh, really? But yeah, I had my first like drunk enough to throw up experience, because like the bad part about like losing my faith and then now is like, okay, I want to drink now, like not like go crazy. I'm actually old enough to like do that now and not go too hard. But I was like, oh, there's going to be a time where I'm just going to see, you know, test the limits a little bit. And the more I drink, the more I realize like I actually like, you know, take my alcohol, I think pretty good. I think my dad gave me his like Irish liver.
For real.
And
You don't,
so, like-
do you drink water too in between drinks?
Maybe that's it, dude.
Yeah,
I drink a lot of
You've been
water.
trained well. Yeah. Whoever
Yeah.
did that, good job. Kudos
But
to
I
them.
got my first like drunk enough to throw up. I like had to get driven home, and then I threw up once I got home, and I was like, wow, I really do feel like right as rain now. It's so weird. Discovering all these things for the first time, I'm just like, oh, people telling the truth.
Yeah. You don't throw up when you take like psychedelics?
No.
No?
Little queasy
Do
feeling.
you talk about that on the podcast?
Not really yet. We haven't yet, but
No,
we can talk about it. Yeah.
We'll save that.
We're talking about it. So I've only done one type. I've only done mushrooms before.
Okay.
So I haven't done any other psychedelic or anything. And then, but yeah,
I've experimented with psychs, and I find that the shrooms occasionally make me a little nauseous. So I'm that type
sure.
that I already know it's coming. I tell I did it with Nick, and just over the weekend. And it was funny because, you know, the feeling was starting to come up, and I'm feeling good. And I knew it was coming too, because I feel so amazing. Everything's so wonderful. I feel so wonderful. Everything's so good. And then in like a split second, I had to like bolt to the trash can. I did my thing, and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm fine. I'm good. I'm good. Everything's totally fine. It's totally normal. I'll be right back. I'm good." And from the bathroom, I'm like, "I'm still good. I'm okay. Don't worry about me." And just trying to like make sure he wasn't worried about me. But I think it was me trying to psych myself out that everything's okay. Everything's good. This is a part of the process. And then afterwards, you feel good.
How much did you take?
I don't know. I think I might have taken just a little over a gram.
Oh,
Not a whole lot.
Okay.
Yeah. I realized I don't need to take a whole eighth anymore to go balls to the wall on my trips. They're fun, but unless I'm doing them like during the day in nature, I don't like to trip that hard. Indoor spaces, I just need a little bit of a, you know, I just want to see patterns on your skin.
For sure.
And watch, you know,
I feel
ancient
like
aliens.
that for sure. You're like, it's all true. But like, I feel like that queasy feeling you get when it first starts, it's like, I almost feel like it's like when you get on a roller coaster and it's like slowly going up the, you know, like the hill for the first time. You're just like, oh my God. Then it gets right there and just like whoosh, you're gone. That's what I think about when I'm getting nauseous. I'm like, this is not bad. This is good. It means that that the drop is coming. You know?
What an excellent perspective.
Nice.
I can't wait for you to go to your first music festival and trip out.
Too. I can't wait to go.
It's going to be so good. That roller coaster feeling is going to be very much alive.
Yeah.
You're going to have wind in your hair, colors, lights, people taking pictures of you.
Seeing different
right after you go
dimensions.
over the hill.
Yeah, I can't wait for that either. That'll be great. But
how are you doing on time?
I think it's probably about time to wrap it up, actually.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, I think so. But, you know, hearing all your life and your perspectives on stuff has been really cool. Yeah, I didn't know a lot about you that, you know, that you kind of brought up here.
Yeah, it was definitely fun being asked these questions and on a recording. But it was really cool to share. And I hope, you know, for anybody listening, you know, I hope they feel like inspired to go to some of these festivals when they pick back up after COVID. Don't be scared about being around strangers. I mean, I have my own opinions about like how the whole thing, and I won't get too political, but I think it's really important to feel that sense of community around that many people, and everybody's there for the same reason, which is music. Mm-hmm. At the end of, I mean, why else would you go to like spend the money that you spend to watch all these artists play back to back in a weekend? You know, there's usually somebody there that you want to connect with, like through music. And to be at a stage watching your favorite artist play that one song that like moves you, whether it's in your car, in your shower, when you're by yourself, like, you know, it moves you when you're alone. But to get that same feeling and look around and see thousands and thousands of thousands of people just not care what anybody else is thinking and feel it and express love to each other and hug each other and help each other in that moment, it's so worth. And it's worth stepping out of like the fear of, you know, go from 6 feet and to go from 6 feet socially distanced within the last year and a half of doing this whole crazy pandemic to, you know, being willingness to just be side by side next to a sweaty stranger, you know,
touch shoulders with them.
You got to break through that fear and just do it, because what you get from it and get from that experience is really worth it. At least just one time.
For sure.
And then maybe you realize it's not your jam, and that's okay
not
too.
For everybody.
Maybe you just hang out with us in the back on the lawn while the stage is going up, and even in the back when you are spaced out from everybody, you get to still see cool stuff in the back.
For sure, yeah.
The hula hoopers, the fire benders, the, you know, the guy that's out there doing like a light show, like to people sitting on the grass. Oh my gosh, that stuff is so cool.
So we have a friend that does like the pixie whip, you know?
Oh, is that Raquel Eats?
Yeah, Raquel does a pixie whip.
She's going to train me one day.
It's so cool.
I can't wait. I just bought 2 pixie whips for over the holidays. So I was like, Raquel, teach me. She's so good at it.
I know, for real.
I have this video of her at EDC. She's like in this really cool goth, like sexy black outfit with like black tape around her nipples. And she's in front of a stage with this pixie whip doing this crazy, awesome like flow. And I just will never forget looking around and seeing everybody else like admire what I'm admiring about my friend. And she owns it so good. I love her. She needs to just have an
life
account
of the
with
party
just
for sure.
all of that. Yeah. Oh, her birthday is when
that's when we met for sure.
Dude, Raquel, her birthday was the favorite Raquel I've ever seen.
Oh, for sure. That was a great time.
She can steal the show. I hope that girl goes really far. She will.
For sure. She'll be on here eventually too.
Perfect. I can't wait. I'm going to listen in. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing all that stuff. And, you know, I'm sure not just me, but like everybody listening to this is, you know, benefited from it, and super cool to know you. So.
Cool. Thanks, Zach. It's great to know you too. I can't wait to hang out with you at our next music festival.
For sure. Oh, we're going together for sure.
Make it happen.
I'm about it. Thanks for watching the back, Lolo. You're the best. All right. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, guys. Bye.